Well, sir, it's early evening as our scene opens now. And here in the living room of the small house halfway up in the next block, we find Mr. and Mrs. Victor Gook and their son, Mr. Rush Gook. Sade and young Rush are seated on the davenport with sections of the newspaper, while Vic, established at the library table, stares blankly at a sheet of paper and toys with the fountain pen. At length, he glances at his wife, remarking,
"Doggone it.
What's the trouble?
I'm not getting anywhere."
Can't think of anything to say?
Well, there isn't much to say. You can say the whole thing in one sentence.
Or how long's your article supposed to be?
1,000 words.
Is that quite a bit?
Sure.
How much space does 1,000 words fill up?
Oh, a page maybe. That is, a page the size they have in the Kitchenware Dealers Quarterly. Well, I thought this would be easy. Had the idea I could dash it right off fast as I could write.
I remember you writing magazine articles before, Gov, and getting stuck.
Yeah, that's true, but on technical subjects. This piece is supposed to be breezy and informal. I guess there's a trick to knocking out any kind of a magazine article.
Well, what did the Kitchenware Dealer Quarterly fella say in their letter?
You want to go get it, Pete?
In your coat pocket?
Yeah, my coat's hanging over the banister in the hallway.
Oh.
I figured I could whip out a 1,000-word piece in half an hour. Can't even hit on a satisfactory sentence to start off with.
H.K. Fleeber of Grovelman, South Carolina's got a tooth in his mouth from every state in the Union.
Well, when you say that, you shot your bolt. That's the whole idea of the article. I don't want to say all I have to say in the very first sentence. I made one stab here. I start out with the same thing the fella started out with in that piece about me.
Over at plant number 14, they've got a big slob named V.R. Gook?
Yeah. But it's not original. I don't like to submit anything I haven't thought up myself. Darn H.K. Fleeber and his teeth from every state in the Union.
That hits me kind of silly, Vic.
How you mean?
Oh, fella having a tooth in his mouth from every state in the Union.
It may be silly, but it's also unusual. The editor of the Kitchenware Dealers Quarterly feels it's material for a bang-up feature story.
Here I go.
Read it out loud once.
Okay.
Listen, Sade.
Dear Mr. Gook, we have recently received information that one of Consolidated Kitchenware's employees in Grovelman, South Carolina, has a tooth in his head from every state in the Union. From an editorial standpoint, this strikes us as excellent material for a breezy, informal, and colorful sketch for our magazine. We understand that you are a very close friend of Mr. Fleeber's, and that you also occasionally turn your pen to literary efforts. We wondered if you would be interested in writing an article for us. Hoping to hear from you shortly, we remain, yours truly, T.J. Gix and G. Tillman Phoebe.
Get the idea?
Huh?
I thought it'd be easy as pie. I can't even get one sentence down.
H.K. Fleeber's got a tooth in his mouth from every state in the Union?
Yeah.
How come?
Yeah, how come? I'd like to hear that explained myself.
Well, as a young man, H.K. Fleeber had very poor teeth. He was constantly going to the dentist. At that time, he had a job where he did considerable traveling. Well, he had a tooth pulled in Nebraska, which was replaced with a false one. And the same thing happened in Idaho, Ohio, Texas, Arkansas, Kentucky, New York, and so on.
Finally ended up with teeth from everywhere,
Yeah.
Well, then there is some sense to it. I thought at first it was some wild stunt where he had teeth pulled on purpose just so he could say he had false teeth from every state in the Union.
I think he did have to have a few good teeth extracted in order to boast every state. Let's see, I believe he went to Wyoming, New Hampshire, Michigan, and Minnesota to fill out his quota.
He's got a false tooth in his head he had installed in Tennessee, huh, Guy?
Yeah.
Indiana, Florida, and Delaware.
Uh-huh.
Arizona, North Dakota, and Illinois.
Yeah.
Iowa, West Virginia, Alabama, California, New Mexico.
All the states.
Nevada, Montana, Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont, Colorado, Utah, Pennsylvania.
I said all the states. You needn't name them all over.
Oh.
How do I begin this thing?
Well, Mr. H.K. Fleeber is a nice gentleman that lives in Grovelman, South Carolina. And he had very poor teeth when he was a young man, and the dentist in Nebraska pulled one and put in a...
No, it's got to start out snappy. Stimulate the reader's interest right off the bat, see? Rush, step to the bookcase and get me the last issue of the Kitchenware Dealers Quarterly. I'll see how other authors start out their articles. I'd really like to make a success of this. I'd like to submit something creditable. Does a man in my position a lot of good to have signed articles in the Kitchenware Dealers Quarterly. If I could submit a piece the editors liked, they'd probably invite me to send in other efforts. A popular demand for my stuff might develop. Take the case of J. Richard Sickbrain of Plant 18. J. Richard Sickbrain wrote poetry. Just fooled around with it, don't you know? Today, J. Richard Sickbrain gets paid 75 cents for every stanza he turns out. Why, I read where he was asked to write a...
I just thought of something.
Did you get my Kitchenware Dealers Quarterly?
Here it is. I just thought of something.
Now tell me later.
It's connected with H.K. Fleeber and all them teeth he's got.
Well?
There's 48 states in the Union.
Well, that's a bright new thought.
Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New York, New Hampshire.
You're going to name them all over?
Will you admit there's 48 states in the Union?
Gladly.
And you say H.K. Fleeber's got a tooth in his mouth from every state.
Yeah.
In the human mouth, Gov.
Yeah?
In the human mouth, Gov.
Yes, in the human mouth, Gov, what?
There's only 32 teeth.
Who said so?
Well, everybody knows that. I learned it in the 7th grade at Edwards School.
That's right, Vic. 32.
Well, what the heck here?
If H.K. Fleeber's got 48 teeth, he must have an awful big mouth.
An awful, awful big mouth.
32 from 48 leaves 16. He's got 16 more teeth than anybody else.
Must be jammed in together like sardines.
Well, be that as it may, I'm determined to have a try at this.
Well, people reading the Kitchenware Dealers Quarterly will think your piece is a fake, Vic. How could a fella have a tooth in his head from every state in the United States when there's 48 states in the United States and human beings only have 32 teeth?
I don't know and I don't care. Here's a fella starts out his article. The moon was bright that night in June as I.O. Fleeber proposed marriage to Miss Opal Wheeler of the maintenance department.
The moon was bright that night in June as H.K. Fleeber.
Opened his mouth and showed everybody 9 bushels of teeth.
Yeah.
Here's a fellow starts out his article. We Americans are mighty happy and mighty proud in the fact that
H.K. Fleeber's got 48 teeth. Rush, who are the fellows that wrote your father that letter?
T.J. Gix and G. Tillman Phoebe.
Well, they can't be very bright either.
No.
You'd think editors of monstrous big magazines would appreciate people only got 32 teeth.
How'd this be for an opening sentence? Teeth may come and teeth may go, but H.K. Fleeber of Gravelman, South Carolina, has the last laugh.
Fine.
You got punch?
Sure.
Or this. Teeth may come and teeth may go, but, ladies and gentlemen, take off your hat to H.K. Fleeber of Gravelman, South Carolina.
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, take off your hat to H.K. Fleeber of Gravelman, South Carolina.
Good.
Like it, huh?
Yeah.
If you just wanted to fill up space, Gov, you could say H.K. Fleeber had a false tooth put in his mouth while visiting in Maine. H.K. Fleeber had a false tooth put in his mouth while visiting in Ohio. H.K. Fleeber had a false tooth put in his mouth while visiting in Utah. H.K. Fleeber had a false tooth put in his mouth while visiting in Minnesota. H.K. Fleeber had a false tooth put in his mouth while visiting in Alabama. H.K. Fleeber had a false tooth...
I think that will do, Rush. We've had enough side-splitting wit and humor. I'd like to have it quiet for a while now, if you people don't mind. Perhaps you and your mother would like to stroll down to the picture show.
Sure.
I will gladly supply the money for your tickets.
How about it, Mom?
All right. What's on?
Gloria Golden.
Oh, really?
Gloria Golden and Four-Fisted Frank Fuddleman and I Shall Love Thee Evermore, Lieutenant Corporal Glush.
Sure, I'd just soon go. You're going to stay home, huh?
Yeah, and write my magazine article.
Well, good luck with it.
Teeth may come and teeth may go, but ladies and gentlemen, take off your hat to H.K. Fleeber of Gravelman, South Carolina.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up in the next block.